Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. It is a very late and quiet and peaceful night here in America, but I want to scream about what is happening in Ukraine. I want to scream that Russia killed a child in Kiev, in Ukraine, on the International Children's Day. I want to scream that Russia is killing children on the International Children's Day. Early morning of the first summer day in Kiev, in Ukraine, Russia launched a massive missile attack on Ukraine. As always, this time 10 missiles were flying towards Kiev. 7 ballistic, 3 cruise missiles, all of them were hit by the air defense system, but the parts of the missiles were falling down, causing what we call minor destructions. And these parts of the missiles killed people. They killed a 32-year-old young woman and a 34-year-old woman with her 9-year-old daughter. My daughter Katya is 9 years old. And 10 more people were injured. And these people, they were running to the basement to hide from the Russian missiles. They were running to the children's polyclinic, to the hospital, which basement serves as a bomb shelter. And when I was in Kiev, when I was hiding with my children in the bomb shelter, I was hiding in the same building, but just in another neighborhood, in the basement of the children's polyclinic. This is where I stayed with my kids when I was in Kiev. And these people, early morning, it was or late night, they were going to the basement. These women, they were trying to keep their children safe, and they made this difficult decision what to do. When the air raid siren started, just minutes after this happened, explosions started. These missiles were very fast, and they went to the basement, and they didn't make it. They were killed. And at this point, I want to ask you, please don't be distracted, because maybe in the news they will say that the guy who was in this hospital, he didn't open the doors to these people. They were knocking at the door that was closed to the basement, to the bomb shelter. And I do not blame the person who didn't open the door, because he opened the central entrance to the hospital and he let some people who were entering through the central entrance go inside of the basement. And that's the same how my basement worked, because this person who was in charge of the hospital, he is supposed to stay there and keep it safe, keep all of this expensive equipment over there safe. That is his job, apart from being a guard of the bomb shelter. And at night, he is closing the doors, but he opens when somebody is knocking. So people were knocking at the entrance. And then there were other people who were knocking at the doors of the basement that goes directly. I don't know which exactly door, but it's some door. And he opened one door, but he didn't open the other door. And maybe he just didn't do it in time. Maybe the explosion happened before he basically opened. Or maybe there was even, indication that the door was open to the entrance on the other side. I don't know. Maybe he was supposed to open 2 doors at the same time, and at the same time keep all of this equipment safe. And yes, Ukraine is a mess, but it's not the reason to kill us in Ukraine. It's not the reason to send the missiles and bombs on Ukraine. And of course, don't blame the victims. Don't blame the people who make these difficult decisions for themselves. Do they stay at home, behind 2 walls, hoping that the missile will not destroy completely their home and they will stay safe? Do they spend the night in the bathroom like Nastya does, the young woman with a child who stays in my apartment in Kiev? She is displaced because her own village is under occupation till now. Or do you go to the basement and then you're killed on the way to the basement, or you stay in the basement all the time, every night and every day, and you don't go to work, and your child catch cold and some other diseases because the air in the shelter is not good, and you cannot live all the time in the basement. You cannot even go there every time the air raid siren is on, because it is on almost all the time, because Russia is trying to kill Ukrainian people all the time. You do not blame the victims. You do not blame the guy from the basement, from the hospital. You do not blame the West. You don't blame America and Europe that they didn't give enough of defense systems to Ukraine. Because if these defense systems that are given right now were not given at all, then Ukraine would not be able to stand against Russia alone for this long. And even Kyiv itself, how many times it was targeted. It is all the time targeted. Kyiv would be just ruined completely by this day if we didn't have Patriots, if we didn't have other defense systems from other countries, our partners. So we're very grateful for all of these defense systems that we are given, because if not these systems, then there will be much, much more people killed, and much more children will be killed. And Russia would not have any regrets about it and any shame about it, because they do not have any shame. And because this is their aim, their target is to kill people. This is what they say: let's kill more Ukrainians. We need to kill more Ukrainians. We have to destroy this country. So don't blame yourself. Don't think that what you do is not enough to support Ukraine. I think it's not only about Ukraine, and it's not only about the free world and democracy, all of this. Sometimes to me, I'm like, these words are so important, but they sound so pale. People are dying for this freedom, and at the same time you're like feel uncomfortable using these words because they sometimes seem to you kind of pathetic. But it's about humanity, and this is not pathetic. This is real. This is about people, about being humans, about being humankinds, about living in the world where you are not allowed to kill children for any reason, political or whatever. No, you cannot kill children. I'm sorry, on the International Children's Day. I made this video for me, not even for you, but for me, just to breathe, just to process this information in my mind, just not to go crazy, The same way how I was doing all of these videos in the beginning of the invasion, just not to go crazy, kind of to keep things under control, kind of to step one step away and to look at the situation a little bit like from behind the camera, like it's not about you, you're just the cameraman, you're just filming what's going on around you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Darina is sleeping, so I thought I would be doing this video with her, nursing her again, but looks like she decided that she will make this video. I pre-recorded another video for this day, and I was supposed to publish it, another video about a shelter for displaced people, internally displaced Ukrainian in the west of Ukraine, in Vorokhta. The shelter that was made by Christina Katrakis and her FFUNSDG helpua.org fund. They have a shelter for thousands of displaced people in the west of Ukraine, and there are people mainly women with children. And she needs money to keep the shelter running because this is how it works. So I made a video where she recorded interviews with these children for me because I asked her. And in this video, the link is in the description, and I will publish it. And their children are saying thank you for help. And I'm saying that if you feel like you want to help, then please donate to this shelter, to this organization. They launched the new project, which is called Be the Light. So you can be the light and help them. But it makes me sick to understand that food, clothing, shelter that will be purchased with these donations, it's not even the most important thing for them. The most important thing for them is just staying alive. Just staying alive. Just staying alive for children. Safety, that's the most important thing. And they will not be safe in Ukraine as long as Russia keeps attacking Ukraine. And Russia will keep attacking Ukraine as long as it is capable of attacking Ukraine. And as it capable to kill and destroy, it will keep doing it even after Ukraine is destroyed. Russia will continue doing that, and this is kind of obvious, and I don't think I have to persuade here anyone about it. So what I'm thinking about just right now, that I'm still asking you to donate to this shelter, but maybe you want to donate twice less to this shelter than you would donate, and another half you will donate to the army of Ukraine. And you can choose any fund, any non-profit that you know, that you trust, and donate, because many people are trying to help in many possible ways. I mean, recently with your help, we purchased the vehicle for my friend pastor who is serving in the army, the pickup truck. We bought it in Austria. It's on the way to Ukraine. Very soon it will be in the service of the armed forces. And of course I will make a video when it is there, and when pastor has time to make a small video for me. So far I have only photographs. You can choose any other organization. I mean, I'm donating myself every day to someone, always on my Facebook there is someone who is collecting money for a drone, for a night vision device, for a vehicle, always these vehicles and drones and night vision devices, and recently mosquitoes repellents too, because now the summertime, and these guys, they are staying in the forests, in the swamps, even if it's not the front line, they're just killed by mosquitoes. This is what they need too. I would suggest, if you ask me what exact nonprofit I would suggest for you, that will be Pritula Foundation. That is a fund that I'm trying to support since the start of the invasion, and blame myself why I didn't do it before the invasion, but that's another story. The link is in the description. And what else I wanted to say, that you see, all missiles that were flying into Kiev, they were hit by the air defense system. But hitting the missiles above children's head sometimes does not save children's lives. These parts, they just fall on kids' heads, and children, people, men, women, doesn't matter, people are dying. They are still dying. And while I'm recording this video, there is another air defense air raid siren right now in Kiev and in many other regions of Ukraine too. And Russians are continue killing more people and continue destroying more villages and cities and just buildings and just everything. They just burn everything. They just want to level, they're trying to level everything to zero, like massive terrorists. That is the level of the terrorism that the world never saw before. I don't know, something similar was probably happening in 30s in Ukraine that was made by Stalin, but the world didn't know about it because there was no internet. But now there is internet, and it's everywhere. It's happening online. My friends who stay in Kiev, I'm like in chat with these mothers whose children were playing with my children in our neighborhood, and they are saying, we feel like it's a public execution. It's not to blame anyone, it's not to blame you, no, it's just feelings that people have, that we are being executed right now, and the world is watching us being killed. day by day and night by night. I have another friend, Ksenia. She left Ukraine on the first days, maybe even on the very first day of the invasion. She raises her son alone. And she just sat into the car and she was driving till she got to Poland, which wasn't easy because there was these traffic jams on the way to Poland from Ukraine. And then she was in Germany and she was a refugee and she stayed more than a year now in Europe. And yesterday she came back to Kiev. I don't know yet the reason why she did it. I guess she decided to come back home and be useful in Ukraine. And the first very night that she spent with her son in Kiev, these bombings happened and her child was killed. And I just imagine, she posted a photograph of her son sleeping in the corridor. And I just can imagine and feel the way she was looking at her son in this corridor and what she was thinking about, blaming yourself when you're in Europe that you left Ukraine, then blaming yourself when you come back to Ukraine and you keep your child in the corridor. And you understand that Christina Katrakis, who is in charge of this shelter in the west of Ukraine, she is in Ukraine with her 9-year-old son, and she is trying to keep her son safe and at the same time to keep the other children safe. Terrible decisions people have to make. And sometimes it strikes me that I just have to leave everything and just go and fight myself in Ukraine. But then I think then the future of Ukraine are children, and so many children are already killed in Ukraine that I just have to keep my children safe. And who else will keep themselves if not me? And I cannot do it myself because Katya has autism and Darina is a baby, and it's it's terrible decisions that we have to make, each of us. But I know one thing: this decision has to be in one direction. That is Russia defeated and Ukraine protected and the West protected, Europe protected, America protected. Because how do you keep yourself protected? You have to eliminate the reason of this danger, that is Russia. I don't know what to do with Russia. I don't know what to do with Russian people that do not have any shame. I mean, some of them, they regret that the war has started, but very few of them were saying, I'm sorry, or I'm so ashamed. They say, maybe, I'm against the war, I'm not guilty, I'm not involved in politics. Oh my God, we are all involved in politics. Life is politics. We are all responsible for what is going on. And you guys, at least, you can feel that you are sorry and ashamed for what your nation and your country is doing, but that does not exist. I don't know what to do with Russia. I hate to sound like racist and become racist against Russia, but explain me what's going on. How comes that the whole country, with the whole nation, just is committing a genocide, is just threatening everyone, and is just, with their nuclear weapons saying, it's I don't know, but it's not about it. And just not to go crazy myself, I wanted to share with you in a more positive way, but as often it happened before in my live streams, and I put this video unedited, but I will add some photographs and videos for more effect because I have a possibility right now. So what I was saying that I wanted to say it in a more positive way and maybe to grab more attention, that I launched a new YouTube channel in Ukrainian language for Ukrainian children. It is called Pani Kalina, which means Mrs. Kalina. Kalina is one of the symbols of Ukraine. That is the tree. I always forget how it sounds in English. And this is an educational and entertaining channel for babies, for toddlers, because I realized that my baby Darina started speaking English, and she's not speaking Ukrainian yet. She's saying puppy, bubbles, mommy. She's even saying I see baby. And she's saying it because often I turn on some YouTube for her, and the best YouTube is in English. These educational videos, they are in English. Like, we speak only Ukrainian within ourselves, but she hears a lot of English, and English words are kind of easier to pronounce, some of them, like puppy and bubbles, than цуценя and бульбашки. So this is why she is saying. But I know that many mothers right now who are refugees face this problem, that their toddlers now speaking more foreign language than their native language. Nobody expected this war to last for so long. And also I know that there are other mothers who are without their husbands raising their children, and they just can't entertain children. They just can't smile sincerely and without being stressed. And children need, someone who is happy to show them what it is like to be happy. I remember after that he came back, and we moved already to the safety to America, and so he laughed for the first time. He was laughing, how a man is laughing, like, oh. And Darina got scared because she never heard this sound before. She was afraid a little bit about him because she forgot him. But I just realized that she wasn't really hearing anyone laughing. So the sound is so unusual to her, so she got scared. And this is unfortunately the situation for so many children in Ukraine. And I'm saying it on the International Children's Day. So I wanted to create something cheerful for kids and educational, because there is a big problem with Ukrainian language. Many people speak Russian in Ukraine because of the hundreds of years of Russification, very aggressive Russification that Russia committed. It's not only about the laws that forbidden absolutely anything in Ukrainian language. It is literally about killing for Ukrainian language. Our poets, our writers, our journalists were killed, repressed, and then they were sent to gulags, to the Russian Far East. And then when it was so purified in the Soviet Union, they were saying, now Russian language is the language of, education, of culture. And it's also a common language, so all nations can understand each other. That will be the language to use. And when I was born, my parents were already speaking Russian, even though in their childhood, in the village, they were yet speaking Ukrainian. So I raised my children with Serhiy, and he is from the same situation. He is also from the south of Ukraine. We raised our kids in a way that they speak only Ukrainian. They heard Ukrainian language in the family since they were born. But I know it didn't happen in many families, because for this you need to make an effort, And it wasn't easy for me to start speaking Ukrainian after 18 years of speaking Russian. I mean, in my school, in my town, I had no Ukrainian schools, only Russian. Everything was in Russian. And we had only 2 hours a week of Ukrainian language. And we had 9 hours a week of English. So I was speaking English better than Ukrainian language. And I learned it myself because I wanted, and because in the capital of Ukraine, the station was better. And in the Institute of Journalism, I became a philologist of Ukrainian language, and I learned it. And I have 2 more friends who left Ukraine after the invasion, being pregnant, and gave birth abroad, one in Spain, another in Switzerland, and this is where they live right now. And their children hear Russian language from their parents, my friends, and they hear Spanish, Catalonian, French, English, from people in the streets, from other people, from doctors, from teachers, from everyone. And they don't really hear Ukrainian language. Unfortunately, Ukrainian YouTube is very, very poor in quality, in content, in everything. There are bright stars, there are people who make it, and I admire them. But there is very, very little content in Ukrainian language for babies and toddlers. And when I saw my baby Darina watching Miss Rachel, I fell in love with her. And then I found many others, like Silly Miss Lily and some others. And I saw how much Darina is enjoying watching these videos of, a cheerful, intelligent person talking to a child in this language, showing things, teaching how to count the colors, singing songs. And the baby is repeating all of this with sign language. Darina is saying, more cookie. At first she was signing only, more cookie. Now she's saying, more cookie. So I want Ukrainian kids to know how to say it in Ukrainian language. Because it happened that I'm outside of the war zone, outside of the zone of violence so far. And I think I have to use this privilege in some way. So when we started this big journey in America, and we left Georgia in March and never came back since then. I'm now in South Carolina in other people's house. So when we moved from Georgia, I realized, in Georgia, I was still feeling so safe, but I felt that everywhere outside is not safe. So I was like hiding in another basement, but in America. So when I left this basement in Georgia, and I saw the world that is safe again, all of a sudden, and I saw my children running on the beach, enjoying the sunshine, smiling, laughing, singing, and it was painful because I did not understand what do I do with all of this now. Is it, a blessing? Or maybe this is like from the devil who wants to challenge me again. But, one night I literally heard a voice in my mind that told me, you have to do something for other Ukrainian children. You were given this to make your children happy and safe and smart. But you can do this for other children, Ukrainian children too. So just share this kindness that you received and knowledge that you received with the other people, with the other Ukrainian children who are deprived of many of these things. So I started this YouTube, and I learned that you can do some magic, with all of these technologies. You can do animation. You can be in a magical forest. You can be under the ocean. You can be in the skies. You can count birds. You can do anything. And when we stayed on Marta's vineyard for a month, and I was recording these videos over there and publishing my first videos, I think I published it over there. Dawn and Lawler, the family that invited us to Marta's vineyard, they saw it. And what Dawn did, she bought for me and sent to me the green screen with the lights. So I have a studio now here to make this YouTube channel. Look what I have now a tripod. I have the soft boxes, and over there, Inga, I'm sorry that I'm showing a little bit of your house now if you're watching me. I have umbrella lights, I have green screen and soft boxes, but I put it outside not to wake up my children. And Darina is sleeping on the sofa here behind the glass. And I'm very surprised she's still sleeping, because she usually wakes up, 5 minutes after I leave her, but she keeps sleeping over there on the sofa. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, over there. Little baby on the sofa. I brought her downstairs and I thought I will just put her here, trying to recharge my GoPro camera, put another battery on my GoPro camera. So that's the situation. Well, guys, thank you for spending this time with me. If anybody watched this madness till the end, I literally feel now like I had a session with a psychotherapist, which I'm not having anymore. Because I thought I'm fine and I can save money. So that was, I really feel a deep relief right now. Thank you for this. We do feel this support in Ukraine. We do feel it, And it was such a pleasure to see it also. On Martha's Vineyard, we saw just an incredible, unbelievable amount of Ukrainian flags everywhere, on the buildings, at the entrances, on the fences. Just people put sometimes, a big Ukrainian flag, and sometimes it's a small Ukrainian flag somewhere, like painted wood with Ukrainian colors. But that these people, they do support Ukraine and they show they support Ukraine. And thanks God we didn't see any Russian flag, because I was a little bit afraid of that. We see these Ukrainian flags and we feel your support. We see your support. And I personally, I do see it and I do feel it, and I'm very grateful for it. And of course, people feel it in Ukraine, because as I say, without your support, guys, I would not be talking to you right now. I would be probably somewhere in one of these mass graves, especially being a journalist, especially with my husband being a journalist and a soldier. We wouldn't be just here, and many other people in Ukraine. So everything will be fine. Darina woke up. Okay, guys, good night.